Hello there boys and girls, it's Miss Potter here. Welcome to our first session of our Blue Set 6 Story 4 book, King of the Birds. We're going to start today's session by opening up the book and turning to page 4 and practicing our speed sounds. If you have someone you can practice them with at home, that's wonderful. I want you to point to the sounds and say the sounds that they are. You can pause the video now while you do this. If you're using me as your partner, that's okay. I'll point to the sounds and say them. I'd like you to repeat them after me. Ooh, 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 mm, 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 whir, s, 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 v, v, z, 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 sh, th, unk, b, b, k, 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 d, d, g, g, h, j, 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 p, p, qu, t, t, w, w, x, y, ch, ch. Well done. I'd like us to pay some close attention to the sounds that are in circles. There's this sound here, two letters L and E make the L sound. There's this sound here, C and E make the S sound, and S and E make the Z sound. We have two letters that go together, Q and U to make the Qu sound, and W and H to make the W sound. These sounds you might need to help you read some words in our story later on in the week. Now to move on to the vowel sounds. You don't need to read the word at the bottom, just say the sound. I'm going to point to the word and say the sound. I'd like you to repeat them after me. If you have a partner at home, you can pause the video now while you practice. If you're using me as your partner, let's get ready. A, I, O, A, E, I, O, U, A, O, ow, I. Well done. Now it's your turn to say them first and I'll repeat what I think you said. A, I, O, A, E, I, O, U, A, O, ow, I. Well done. Now we're going to turn the page and we're going to practice reading our story green words. These are words that will come up in the story when we read it later on in the week. I'd like you to read the words. If you need to, you can Fred talk the words and then say them. I'm going to point to the word. I'd like you to Fred talk and read it, and I'll say what I think you said. If you have a partner to practice with at home, that's great. You can pause the video now while you do this. J. Notice that this has a capital letter. What might that tell me? Yes, I think it's going to be someone's name. Now this one. Crow. grand. Dull. Chance. Front. That might catch you out because that makes an sound for front. Now for the multisyllabic words, I'd like you to read the first syllable, then the second syllable, then the whole word. I'll repeat what I think you said. Your turn first. Parrot. Hummingbird. Cockatoo. Quarrel. Elephant. Handsome. Display. Splendid. Amidst. Terrific. Firmly. Now we're going to read some root words and then we're going to read a whole word with the suffix on the end. I'd like you to start and I'll read what I think you said. Squirts becomes squirted. Whirl becomes whirled. Twirl becomes twirled. Whir becomes whirring. Prance becomes pranced. Squirm becomes squirmed. Admit becomes admitted. Feather becomes feathers. Well done. That word might have caught you out because it's quite tricky to read. Let's have a look at some of the meanings of the words we've just read and some of the words that we'll come across in the story when we read them later in the week. Grand. Grand means important, a grand king of all the birds. Dull is boring or plain. I look too dull to be king. No chance means no way of being chosen. As for me, I've got no chance. Display means show off. Cockatoo was the first to display himself. Pranced means walked proudly, as he pranced in front of the birds. Now we're going to turn to page 8 in the book. I'd like you to read the red words. I'm going to point to them and say the word first. I'd like you to repeat after me. Would, want, there, watch, some, there, said, all, water, were, they, are, two, was, one, wash, you, would, any, could. Well done. Now I'm going to point to the word. I'd like you to say the word and I'll repeat what I think you said. Would, want, there, watch, some, there, said, all, water, were, they, are, two, was, one, wash, you, would, any, could. Well done. That brings us to the end of our first session of our book, King of the Birds. Thank you for working so hard, boys and girls. I'll see you again tomorrow for our next session.